any system which is commonly accepted across the country. But now there is an effort through the NEP 2020 and through that the NCF 2022 tries to bring that kind of framework which will be acceptable across the country, acceptable across the states and union territories for early learning. So it's a very voluminous document. There is 360 pages, but it's only a beginning. Actually, with this, you cannot implement this early learning practices. There is more work to be done in that direction. And this document is also not final. It's a 360-page document. I don't know how many people or how many of us have fully read it. I've just only glanced through the whole thing. When we talk about this early learning, the names are all actually Western, whether it's Montessori or Waldorf or all the other names that you can stay in. But India also has got a rich legacy. We have Savitri by Phule, then another name which I am very Guju by Badaka, Tara by Modak. So many people, innovators or pioneers in early world learning have also contributed in the Indian context towards even Mahatma Gandhi, Tagore, then Krishnamurti. So many philosophers and leaders, they also contributed. People like Tagore have also contributed to through the Shantiniketan. So now the crux of the matter is how do we take this forward? This is the first time that we are going to have a system where we'll have where ECC is recognized as a distinct area for regulation. And the document says that 0 to 8 years of age is the most crucial for the child's development, because the brain development or growth is the fastest, or it happens at a very high pace compared to the later years. So we have so much neuroscience going behind that kind of conclusions. So this document is also based on a lot of extensive research in the neuroscience area and also consultations with over 2,000 or so resource people from across the country. So it's a very, I think in the coming months, we are going to have more discussions on how this will be implemented in its totality. So many work remains to be done. So we are very fortunate to have a very diversified panel today who will be discussing about various aspects of this and also looking at from the perspective of the methodologies they are already following. So we are glad to have Montessori, Waldorf, and even other modern systems of practiced by the early educators. They are represented in this today's event. And so we are glad to have you all today. And we also have somebody like Hilary Hinchliffe from Jens Academy. We have Suresh Kumar from Ananta Murthy Academy. Then we have Rajagiri Kindergarten, one of the innovative kindergartens in the state in Kerala. And we have representatives from Waldorf and also Montessori. So we are very glad to have this diversified panel today. To begin with, I will just introduce the speakers as we go by. We'll have 8 minutes for every panelist, and then we'll throw open the forum for discussion and later Q&A. So that's the format. So if everybody keeps to the 8-minute format, then the program will go in a smooth manner and we'll be able to finish by 8 or 8:05. So to begin with, we are glad to have Dr. Venita Kaul. She's a former professor of NCERT and she's a visiting professor of Ambedkar University. She's one of the acclaimed experts in early learning. And her book is also very popular, Early Childhood Education and School Readiness in India. So it's supposed to be a very classic book in this area. And she has also worked as an education specialist for the World Bank for a long time, I think more than a decade or so. So we are glad to have you here today. And we have this big document, 360-page document with us. It's not an easy read. I've tried to read it many times. But so I would like to start off with Dr. Venita Kaul and ask her, what is the significance of this document? Why should we take this seriously? And how we should, what is the impact this document is going to have in the early childhood and care and education space. So over to Dr. Venita Kaul.
Thank you very much, and many thanks to Rajagiri Round Table Conference for giving me this opportunity to be able to speak, to share my views on this. The question that is raised which was given to me was that how relevant is this document, because especially in the Indian context, and I'm very happy to say that it is. I can assure you that it is most relevant in the Indian context, because to a large extent, it is based on evidence from India. We had actually in Ambedkar University, along with Asar Center, done a longitudinal research, the first of its kind from 2011 to 2017, on about 14,000 children from 3 states in the country. And we had followed up, we had identified 4-year-olds and followed them up for 5 years to see what was happening with them, where they were going, what they were doing, and what kind of quality they were getting. And from that, the findings of that study, which was a very scientifically, very rigorous, gave us some leads, which have actually informed this reform that is suggested. So very quickly, I would like to share with you some of those findings. From the 14,000 kids that we had tracked, we found that most children were going to a preschool, which was a very good news. 80% children were going to a preschool, but most of them had very low school cognitive readiness levels, despite the fact that they were going, some to a private school, some were going to Anganwadis, and some were going to NGO programs, some were even sitting in underage children in primary schools. But across the board, there was some kind of not very promising cognitive readiness levels as measured by us. We also found that children who were participating in some program were definitely doing better than those who were not getting early childhood education. And then we found that the preschool pedagogy was very important, the quality of the program, because what was happening was that when the quality of the program was good, it was play-based pedagogy as opposed to formal teaching, then we found that children were doing much better, significantly better in the primary school as we had studied them. And the best results we were getting when the preschool pedagogy, which was play-based, continued into the primary school, into the classes 2. That was when we got the best sustained quality in the early childhood years. And this was shared with the committee, and then of course with many others also recommending, and globally now this is coming up as a very important area. We find that this recommendation is certainly going to be very, very relevant for India, because the data, the evidence comes from within India, and perhaps this is the only evidence-based recommendation in the policy. So what are the main features of this which are going to be very important? First and foremost, acknowledgement of this early childhood phase, our primary years, as the foundation stage. Because somewhere it's always been said that, we don't have money for primary education, how can we support pre-primary? But now for the first time, it has been recognized that pre-primary is the foundation, primary is the walls. So do you spend money on foundation first, or do you spend it on the walls? So I think this is an acknowledgement of that. It is essentially a recommendation is to have a curricular, and more importantly than physical integration. So it's not necessary to take all preschools or Anganwadis into the primary school physically, but it is to have curricular continuity and integration and upward continuity. What is happening in the country today, why most of our children whom we studied did not do well in cognitive readiness, was because they were being given a downward primary education curriculum rather than having continuity in the upward direction. So the upward continuity of the curriculum is very important. Play-based pedagogy is most important, where there should be a balance of free play and guided play, because that balance brings out the holistic development of the child and gives a very sound foundation for life. It brings in what are even known, and the policy is calling it the positive learning habits. Not the policy, sorry, the curriculum framework is calling it the positive learning habits. So those are also going to play-based pedagogy, which will not be possible with a more didactic pedagogy. The key considerations here are that the implementation has to be in the spirit of the recommendation. So one, the curriculum needs to be continuous, as I said, in upward continuum. So every state needs to develop a curriculum which will be from preschool 3 years all the way up to 8 years, and not in the reverse direction. And so the pre-primary curriculum will inform the primary curriculum. It needs to be incremental, but yet flexible, because what we find is that children are at multiple levels of ability, age, etc. in these early years. And therefore, we have to have a pace which is going to be, we have to have a flexibility which is going to allow children to learn at their own pace. And that is going to, unless we provide for that, it is not going to work. And therefore, it has to be very child-led rather than teacher-led. There is no syllabus-led program here. It is all about how the children are going to be doing, providing them the environment, providing them all facilitative learning and conditions, and a teacher. Most importantly, many states have started pre-primary classes without teachers, and that is not going to really work. So somewhere we need to have a teacher for the children, and those teachers need to be trained in the pedagogy of the foundational stage. We cannot have B.Eds and M.Eds teaching pre-primary because the pedagogy is qualitatively very different. And it is very important that the role of the teacher should not be chalk and talk method, but it should be more of a facilitator who's going to guide the children, arrange the play-based learning environment for the children, and create a kind of a rapport with children, which will allow the children to be able to interact, learn, experiment, explore, and be able to get the best out of this environment. I would end by saying that my indicator, and I'm just sharing this with you so that others can also use this indicator for what is a good quality early childhood education program or a foundation program, is if you as a stranger go into the classroom when the class is in progress and no child looks up. That is, I think, the best indicator, because each child needs to be very absorbed in what they are doing. And that is what good quality play-based pedagogy means. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Venita Kaul. Actually, I think when you ended your presentation, I think those lines are drawn from Maria Montessori's The Secret of Childhood, work and settings. And there also they have found that children are immersed in learning, and they are fully with the what is taught there. So each follows their own methodology of learning rather than being driven by the teacher. So we are glad to have Rukmini Ramachandran. She is director of the Navadisha Montessori Foundation in Chennai, and she actually has got a very interesting background. She is a journalist. She was editing a children's magazine, and of course she has been trained in Montessori from Mumbai. So we are glad to have you here, and we'd like to know how far that Montessori can be incorporated, or some of this already proven Montessori practices can be incorporated into this NCF 2022.
Thank you very much for having me on this very important conference, discussing very key issues in the country today of early childhood. It's wonderful to see Dr. Kaul, whose work we have all learned from in the last. The research in this area is very limited, and a lot of it that she has done we have followed with great interest over the years. I think that for me the most important thing about all the recent discussion on this work is was not only the understanding of the young child's development, but also the understanding that pedagogy is an important aspect of early childhood. I think that I'd also like to point out that teacher training and teacher education, teacher support, all of these things are absolutely vital in a child development child development program. This can't be, I mean, you can't emphasize enough how important it is. Montessori is one of many pedagogies that this country has nurtured and has grown and flowered in this country. And although we call it a foreign program, Maria Montessori was in Italian. She also spent 5 years in India as a prisoner of war, really, and trained many, many teachers at that time. Gijubai and Taraben Modak very much among the people who were worked with her, and also as an associate of Gandhi and Tagore and all the people of the freedom movement. So Montessori work is very integral to our understanding of early childhood work. And I would like to mention 5 important features of a Montessori program for your discussion, which I feel fit into our understanding of the child. The first aspect of a Montessori program is freedom and choice. The youngest child is able to choose and to be free in the Montessori environment. He is not forced to sit still. It's recognized that the child is born to move, and the child is developing the power of speech and language. And so this inner powers of the child are respected in this environment into which the child comes. So I feel that this freedom and this choice help to create self-directed children whose motivation does not come from rewards, which are given externally by saying very good, good job, clapping, but they come from this inner deep place of a motivation that comes from inside, which helps children to stay with things. I think we looked at children who can continue working despite despite disturbances around them. That only comes out of choices that they have made on their own. So this respect for choice, this respect for the child's freedom, this respect for the child's speech, this respect for the child's movement, these are all vital. We cannot have an environment in which children are asked to sit still, which is still the case in many, many classrooms. I think that the children in a Montessori environment work with a lot of inner rigor. Rigor is now something that is not thought of in terms of early childhood. It's thought of that rigor can only come by force. It is thought that rigor is something that is detrimental and play is a good thing. But all play, a real play, if you're thinking of true play, that play also comes with rules. It comes with rigor, with the discipline. But this discipline in a Montessori environment flowers from within the child, and so rigor and responsibility without being forced. This is a very important aspect of a Montessori program. And I also think that the Montessori program underlines others before me. So in any Montessori, in a program which is working, there is only one of each kind of material that is available to children to choose, and the children choose one, and the others wait or make another choice with something else which they can work at, and they learn to work collaboratively and together. And this is another very important aspect of social life and education for life. I think another important thing is the organization of the mind, the abstract ideas that the child draws from the environment, which occurs through sensorial contact with the environment. So the sensory, multi-sensory experiences are offered to children, so that it is not only what Venita ji called chalk and talk. It's about true experience of the child. So it is these experiences that stay with children. And I also think that problem solving is another very important aspect of their life. Children in a Montessori classroom are constantly confronting problems which they solve their own. And I think that is a very important aspect of this program. I think that any program, particularly a Montessori program, it's difficult to categorize it as foreign or Indian. I think that it's a preoccupation is with human development. And as we know now, what Montessori felt intuitively, she died in 1952. What she felt intuitively is, because neuroscience is bringing us evidence of this at every moment, that ultimately human development, the start is in these years. And so these years are vitally important. These years are culturally relevant, and these years need the feed from the environment. The children need experiences to live a good life. So the aim and goal of education is not just academic readiness, for a higher level of education, but really for living a good life, knowing how to make the choices and have the self-control to live a good life. So I think that if we look at that philosophically, it's aligned to many aspects of the national curriculum framework. And I hope that not just Montessori, but all these philosophical pedagogies, which are locally grown, will get a lot of, trust to reach more and more children as we progress in our understanding of the NCF. Thank you very much. Thank you for this opportunity to be here.
Yes, thank you, Rukmini. We'll discuss more about how Montessori can be integrated after the other presentations are over. Actually, I think a lot of things about Montessori that you have already said, I think those are very relevant for early learning and giving a good solid foundation. So we'll come to that. And next, actually, we'll go to Rajagiri Kindergarten. Actually, Rajagiri Kindergarten is one of the pioneering kindergartens in Kerala state, and they're considered a role model for many, and many other kindergartens were set up based on this role model, which was created 28 years ago. Today, Shiny Syriac, the headmistress, was supposed to make a presentation, but unfortunately she's not able to make it. So in her place, Bindu Thomas, a very senior teacher in Rajagiri Kindergarten, is going to tell us what innovative practices that the Rajagiri Kindergarten is pursuing, and which can be aligned with the NCF and also NEP 2020 goals. So we are fortunate to have Bindu Thomas today, and I welcome you.
Thank you, Mr. Sreekumar. I'm happy to be here with you all. Now, as far as Rajagiri Kindergarten is concerned, we've been following the playway method of education from the very outset. That is, when we were founded more than 28 years ago, we were following the playway method of education all along. So for us, adopting NCF was fairly easier. So I'll just show you some of the practices which we follow. And I have just prepared a presentation. If there's anyone, in case any of you can't see it for any reason, please let me know.
Okay, we can see.
Yeah, okay. So as I already said, as I mentioned, we have Rajagiri Kindergarten was following the playway method from the beginning. And in this, we had, what we usually do is any kind of topic which we take up in school, introduce it through play, be it English or math or any topic. It's all introduced through play, through stories. So the children learn the matter through a story, and it becomes very easy for them to learn. Without realizing, they pick up all the topics through play. And for that, even we have learning through play. I'm not sure why my slide is not moving. Okay, so maybe. Okay. Yeah, so I think I'll have to use it this way maybe. So first is we always play with any topic. As I already said, what we do is we play with our children, and any topics are introduced through play. Learning is done through play. And for that, we use dramatic play. We have fantasy play. All that makes subject fun for our children. And then we learn, we use outdoor play also to teach various topics. And it's, now it's working. So this is how you can see in some of the videos, the teachers are teaching them various topics, where be it floating, sinking, everything is going on through play and activity-based method. And we have to incorporate all their gross motor skills and everything. We have teachers who are specializing in dance, yoga, so that they have a more all-round development. Because sometimes just the class teacher may not be enough to teach all these subjects, which really needs somebody who's really practicing in those arts. So here you can see we are using dramatic play and fantasy role play, where they enact various things. Then we have a lot of outdoor play for them. We take them, we are very fortunate. We have, just for our little ones, we have a farm in Rajagiri. So so we take them for nature walks. We take them to the farm to be with with nature and play. You can see they're making boats, playing in the puddles. So literally they are interacting with their environment at all times. And we take them on various field trips so that they get experiential learning. They can explore the world around them. We take them to various field trips, which will be of interest to them. And we have pretend corners where this is their free play time. At this time, it is more child-centered. So here the children are free to choose what activity they want, and the teacher is just an observer at this time. She just observes how the children are working, how they are doing, and just monitors them. And here they're learning actually social development. They learn to interact with each other, to give, take, share things. All these values come in when they are all playing together. And here this is where we have a discovery center for them, and they work with the environment. They learn various things they do experiments themselves, and they find out. They themselves come through the conclusion. Whatever the topic is being taught, we give them an opportunity to be able to work on it. Here you can see the children are now learning some life. Here they are learning how to cut, they make their own fruit salad, grow plants. So you can see the joy on their faces when when everything is taught to them to play. So, and here the different experiences which they're, so I'm just moving through the thing. And in our kindergarten, we encourage them to have early reading and listening skills. We talk every day. It's a practice for us. We talk, read, sing together on a daily basis, so that children hearing us, interacting with us, singing all these songs and rhymes, and not just the usual ones. We create songs and stories for them based on their need of that day. So we keep changing our syllabus and introducing all this for them. And here you can see we also incorporate our parents. We involve our parents in the teaching learning process. So here when, for example, this is just an example, when we wanted to give them an idea about the various job opportunities around or the world around them, we called parents who are working in different fields to come and interact with the children. So here you can see parents from different walks of life. And here again, when we want our children to learn about the Indian culture and to be well integrated with Indian ethos. So here again, you can see our parents were involved, and they brought in literally, they bring in the traditional art forms. They brought the traditional food, which now many of them may not be having at home. So you can see here, our parents are dressed up in the traditional Kerala style, giving them the traditional food. And here again, this is a chance when this was all we inculcate. This is how we inculcate values through play, through cooperation. It's all just going on a part of their study. And here, when we integrate a lot of Indian culture into our education. So here, we try as far as possible. We bring in all the art forms which are now no more in practice or which are dying out. So we try to get artists from these fields to come and interact with our children, show them these dance forms. So in the hope that there will be at least one child who will develop an interest in it and maybe take it up in future too. And here again, our children take part in all kinds of celebrations. We want them to have an integrative society. We want them to have inclusive education. So in kindergarten, we celebrate every festival. We celebrate every occasion so that we learn about all the cultures from all over India. In fact, we are now in Kerala. In Kerala, for example, Diwali is not that major a festival, but just so the children get an idea about the culture from the northern part of India too, we bring in these festivals also in, or Diwali, Onam, so that they know what is going on. And we believe in holistic development. So here we involve our children in various charitable activities too, so that they realize that as they grow up, there is a society around them who they should be helping and they should be reaching out to. So we have various programs like iShare and all, where they are involved and they get involved. And then, just like ma'am said, the last point I wanted to make, she said about development. So in Rajagiri, we believe that teachers should be trained and should attend workshops on a regular basis. So every year we attend various workshops, and even experts come to our school to give us further classes, so that we learn about newer and newer methods, and we incorporate all this into our teaching learning process. And like someone said, kindergarten is not something which is which can be really, you cannot have a tight framework. There is no one size suits all. So that's what we believe in Rajagiri, that our syllabus should be a little flexible depending on the children, depending on their requirements. We set our syllabus, and that is how we work. So this is about Rajagiri. So this is how we work in our school. We going for a playway method, and this is about, we've been doing this for the past 28 years. This is the method we've been following all along. So when NCF came along, it was easier for us to incorporate that in, because we were practically doing that. And ours is more a mishmash of various systems. We take a bit of Montessori, we take a bit of Waldorf, everything we mix it up and try and make it into a system which is suitable for our children. So that's about it, and thank you so much.
Great, Bindu Thomas, because it seems to be a very joyful atmosphere, and it's a very joyful and very interactive and immersive learning that you have implemented. And as you said, it's a mix of all the best of, I think, all the philosophies or methodologies that you can follow. So that looks very interesting, and maybe we are more other forms of early learning being implemented across the country. And one of them is this Waldorf, and I believe it is German. And we in Kerala, I don't find I haven't seen any Waldorf early learning center. So we are actually very curious to know how you implement this and what is the key ingredient of your learning methodology and how it is implemented in early learning. So we have Apeksha Chowdary, Defacto Member of Inodai Waldorf School, Mumbai, to tell us how it is relevant for the modern times, how this Waldorf. So over to Apeksha.
Thank you very much for inviting me today to the Rajagiri Trust. So in our school, the Inodai Waldorf School, we are following the Waldorf education, which is the philosophy given to us by Rudolf Steiner, an Austrian philosopher. And the most important thing about Waldorf education is, he says, it is age-related education. If we could divide the human life into septennials, that is from birth to 7, 7 to 14, 14 to 21, and so on. The birth to 7 is what we are looking at today as early childhood. He says this is a physical age. So a child is physically growing at this age right from birth to 7. So it will just give you a quick window into, in the first year, when the child is born, he's horizontal, and by the completion of the first year, he has learned to sit, to crawl, and finally at the end of first year, he's actually vertical. So the whole achievement of the first year is being from horizontal, he learns to be vertical. There's a lot of learning happening. In the second year, the child is learning to walk, and then he learns to talk. So that's another achievement that the child is actually gaining. In the third year, there is something called the I, incarnating of the I, that is the ego body, which comes into the child, which we can see through the child generally until 2.5 or 3, he says, calls themselves by the name. For example, I would say Apeksha wants water. But by the time it's 2.5, 3, and the I body comes in, I change into I want water. So you see that happening in the mannerisms of the child and the habits of the child. So the ego body has incarnated into the child. In the fourth year, there's a faculty called imagination that the child develops. so on. It just goes on till the fall of milk teeth. So he says physically there is so much happening in the physical body. The life forces are working on developing the organs of the body, the kidney, the brain, the heart. He says that there's a lot of work happening in the physical body. So at that point of time, uh, the Waldorf schools or the Waldorf kindergartens believe in giving more play method to the children, grooming them with storytelling or movement. So he also talks about, I generally say that Waldorf kindergarten curriculum is developing the lower senses. So there is something called the sense of touch, which we would develop in the early years, which cannot be developed if it is not developed between birth to 7 years. So how do we develop sense of touch? We allow the children to connect to the nature, to the surroundings. Even the kindergarten material that we have is only natural material. So we have wooden blocks and we have cotton material, we have seeds and shells and everything that is available in the nature as their play material. So this helps them to develop their sense of touch, with the help of which they develop their boundaries, which as they grow, finally we need our children to be in their boundaries. What is happening today is the children have no idea about boundaries. They want what they want, they definitely want. We have to, so unless they're groomed with about their boundaries in the early years, with the help of just grooming their sense of touch, it is possible to do that only in the early years. The next sense that we are developing is the sense of life. The sense of life is sense of health, good health. By giving them healthy, nutritious food, we help them to develop because they are in the growing age, their bones and their body is forming. They're absolutely in the forming stage. And at that point of time, if we guide them with the nutritious food or health food, it just helps them to be healthy and strong. At the same time, the sense of life also is sense of living life. So this, when they grow up, how do you live life? Now you cannot tell a child that world is not going to be a bed of roses. There are going to be hurdles and difficulties coming your way. How would you guide that? So we would do that with a lot of storytelling. So this is the time when we do a lot of storytelling and we repeat the stories almost every day for 3 weeks. So when the child is listening to the same story over and over and over again for almost 3 weeks, something in the story is digested in the metabolic system, and the child stays with the value of the story. They actually stay with the moral. You don't even have to tell the moral, but they just receive the moral in the story. Sorry, we also develop the sense of movement and balance. Now, movement is, as I said, the child learns to talk only when the child learns to walk. So unless when we give them a lot of movement, it helps them to develop speech and language. And when they develop speech and language, then that's how they connect to the outside world. You know, they learn the social skills. They learn the skills to meet the outside world only through language and speech. So we give them a lot of movement through play. Indoor play and outdoor play, both are the most important part of the daily rhythm in the kindergarten. They have to play, and that too is free play. So they play, their imagination is nurtured, they are connecting to the world, the language is being developed. So very, very important part of their daily rhythm is movement, which we are encouraging with the help of play. Not only indoor, but outdoor, where they're meeting the nature, they're climbing the trees, they're collecting a lot of twigs and being very creative amongst themselves. The last is the balance, the sense of balance, which is so very important to nurture a balanced human being. We are trying to give them a lot of sense of balance with even the decor of the house or the decor of the classroom, where everything is very, very pastel and subtle. Now, China says they are sensory beings when they are born. Everything is too overwhelming for them, the colors, the sounds. So if everything is a little more subtle in the early years, they learn to adapt to the environment a little more easily. So in Waldorf education, we do not teach them reading and writing. Rather, we're preparing them to read and write in the early years. So 0 to 7 is more like the foundation. I keep explaining, it's like the foundation of the building. Once the foundation is strong, health-wise, social skills, your fine motor, gross motor skills, if all of them is worked upon very well, then learning is not difficult. Then your plinth is very strong. Then you build a house or a building on top of that, and it is definitely going to be a very strong and healthy building. So in early years, Waldorf education, we are just working on preparing the child to face the real world after they are 6 years. When they go to grade 1, only after they are 6 complete. He also says the fall of milk teeth is an indication that my body is ready. So when the milk teeth start falling, the body starts telling everybody that, oh, I'm ready now, I can learn. Now what comes with my new teeth will stay with me till I die. And what I have learned until now has gone with my milk teeth. So this is like an indication for grade 1 readiness. And we look at all of this when we prepare them for grade 1. Thank you.
Thank you, Apeksha. Actually, we got a what do you call a broad outline of how Waldorf is being implemented. I find some similarities with Montessori and other. Yeah. But still, there are some areas where there is slight difference, I assume. But I think this can be integrated within the this new framework also. So we actually need to learn more about Waldorf in that respect. So now we'll go to Bluebells International School, Delhi. And interestingly, they are implementing pedagogy or some methodology which Dr. Venita Kaul has created or devised. So we are happy to have Dr. Venita Kaul also here, and also the school which has implemented this pattern of learning. So we are glad to have you here, and we would like to know what is the important feature of your learning methodology for early learning. So over to Bluebells International, Suman, Kumar and Pratibha and Kiran Jamwal.
Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. I'm Pratibha Abrol. I'm a school teacher in Bluebells School International, Kailash, New Delhi. At the onset of my presentation, I would like to thank Dr. Venita Kaul for introducing us to this wonderful program in Bluebells School International, which has become our curriculum and now, of course, has been advocated by NEP 2020. Children are curious and excited souls and need to be given opportunities to observe, explore, investigate, and experiment, keeping their curiosity and interest ignited. Since last 3 years, we have made a major shift from a syllabus-based teaching to a flexible skill-based facilitation, and I have realized the importance of readiness in children. Our main focus has been to prepare children and getting them ready for formal education. By formal education, I mean introducing them to many more ways of learning. I would like to share my experiences and observations while practicing this new curriculum. The first and foremost shift which we made was from an English dominant medium of instruction to a multilingual approach, which led to a relaxed and congenial class environment where the kids got comfortable with the teachers and peers in a very short span of time. They came out of their shell, and about 90% children were happy coming to school in the month of April, May itself. Here I would like to share an example of my change in the questioning strategy. Children come back from the summer break. The common question which is asked, where did you go for your vacation? I changed my question to what did you do on summer break? Now, each child was so excited to answer this question. The children who could comprehend only Hindi, they felt valued, respected, safe and secure, intentionally grouped and structured, unstructured, gives ample opportunities to children to observe, question, explore and experiment. We did this floating thinking activity, a very common activity which is done in most of the schools, wherein the children are supposed to put an object of their choice in water. So the teacher, as a teacher, I recorded their responses. Like the children said, pencil गीला हो गया, eraser डूब गया. मतलब वो पहले float किया और फिर उसके बाद गीला होके फट गया. While playing various outdoor games, the children learn to wait for their turns and exactly remember to give turn to each and every child. We incorporate the games, very traditional games like Chidiya Ud, Posham Pa, Tippy Tippy Tap, Hopscotch, categories game. I wrote a letter to my friend, Up the Ladder, Unch Neech Ka Papra in their daily routine. Free play in the different activity centers give them a freedom to choose any activity as per their interest. This curriculum respects the different abilities and individual pace of development of children and ensures that all children develop physically, socially, emotionally, and intellectually to their full potential. Here, I would like to share a video, which is a real video taken in my classroom environment, wherein the children are working in workstations. So here you can find the children in groups of 4 to 5 children, and they are working in workstations. This is a pebble activity going on. It is good for their fine motor, a freehand drawing. Puzzles. This is our library reading corner. So the children are divided into groups, and they are the monitored groups and the individual working groups as well. Hands-on experiential activities are planned for each workstation, and even the children with special needs are well included in all the activities, as each group consists of 6 to 7 children only. The children then change the activities after a prescribed time. Rigorous follow-ups and repetition of activities help the kids to reach their full potential and do the activities independently. Now, the shift is never not simple. We may experience the following teething issues as well. Self-regulation of the kids in class. This has to be practiced on a daily basis. Then designing the activities in which the children engage to make sense of or master the content, allowing the kids to explore and work in different activity centers, thereby balancing between freedom of choice and abiding by the class rules as well. Constant focus on building concepts and strengthening competencies and skills. Need constant reminders not to slip into the teacher mode of yesteryears. And that's my journey from a teacher to a facilitator. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Pratibha and Kiran Jamwal for being present and giving your views on this new pedagogy that you are implementing. So we'll now quickly go to Suresh Kumar, IAS, Executive Director of Anandamurthy International School, Trivandrum. Actually, he worked in the Indian Administrative Service in Kerala. He has also worked in the education sector for some time, and now he has started this innovative school called Anandamurthy International School. So we'd like to know from him what are the kind of innovations or what are the kind of changes that will be required to implement this new NCF, because we need trained teachers for this. We lack trained teachers because B.Ed and other courses can't be utilized for this kind of teaching. And so we need what do you call army of new teachers who are trained in new ECC pedagogy. So how do you think this is going to work out? Because this is now only a beginning. And now there are a lot more things to be done until by 2025, we need to have ECC for all children. That's the goal of this new NEP 2020 policy. So over to Suresh Kumar.
Good evening. First of all, let me thank Mr. Sreekumar and Rajagiri for inviting me to this particular meeting. And I'm also particularly happy because I get to meet Dr. Venita Kaul after 23 years. I remember working with her when she was in the NCERT Department of Early Childhood and Primary, and she was actually sent by the Ministry of HRD down to Kerala to evaluate a primary school curriculum which we had developed here. And Dr. Kaul was quite happy with the curriculum that was developed here. But she pointed out that in many of the government schools in Kerala, they have what is called a pre-primary section, which is run by the PTA, the Parent Teachers Association. And she was quite shocked by the fact that these pre-primary schools in Kerala, in the government schools, which are run by the PTA, they were all shockingly heavily overloaded. Children were being taught things which normally are to be taught in second standard and third standard. This was being forced on very small children. And it was too much for madam to accept this, because in class 1 and 2, the newly developed curriculum was being introduced, and she found that children were quite happy there, and so were the parents, because the curriculum which had been developed was clearly within the social constructivist theoretical framework, and it was all playway, but with very structured progression in the learning objectives. So now, this brings me to the point that I remember Venita madam asking me in those days, 23 years ago, I think it was 1996 or 97. And I said, madam, this is because the public demands, and I think while Rajagiri is talking about training the teachers, I think it's time we also spend a lot more effort in educating the public what should be done and what should not be done at the pre-primary stage. So without that, what is happening is that all kinds of unscientific and all kinds of let us say very, very painful experiences are being provided to children even in the big time fancy schools. See, for instance, right now we are following the Cambridge International curriculum, and for them, stage 1 is 5-year-old. 5-year-old child goes to stage 1 in Cambridge. Now, below that, we have what is called Cambridge Early Years Program. There is a program for 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds. Now, if we come to just the 5-year-olds, I'm just giving you my experiences over this parental, ignorance. Let me put it that way. See, Cambridge says that in stage 1, when the child is 5 years old, the child is to be taught, in arithmetic, to count objects up to 20 numbers. Only up to 20 numbers. Now, I had a tough time with parents who come to a school seeking admission, because they say that we were in the LKG section in the other school, they are teaching up to 20,000, and some other school is teaching up to 10,000. And they think that a school which teaches up to 20,000 is better than a school which teaches only, let us say, 10,000. And according to them, this 20, the number fixed by Cambridge, makes them slightly, uneasy whether this is a proper school or not. Now, see, this is because we have a very, very warped understanding of what is really, the standard, what is a good school, what is not. See, even though Cambridge teaches only counting of objects up to 20 in stage 1, or let us say that's equivalent to your UKG, but the syllabus insists that the child understand everything about numbers, about concepts like bigger than, smaller than, even the basic arithmetical operations are taught below number 20, because 20 is a small number which a child can carry. See, a child can actually understand, child can actually imagine 3 chocolates and 2 more chocolates adding on to the happiness. So 3 plus 2 is more. But if you go into higher values, like when you are talking about 23 multiplied by 24, you're getting into abstract areas. The child cannot carry that kind of quantities in the child's head. So while mathematics has a large extent of large component of abstract concepts with it, it is important to teach children the basics at a lower level where they can really understand it. They can understand things at that stage. We follow the same thing. See, and actually for stage 5, they have very clearly spelled out learning objectives for science and mathematics, apart from English. And all activities which are suggested by Cambridge in their curriculum framework and the scheme of work, all activities are what Dr. Venita Kaul would say, playway method, activity based, all falling within the social constructivist theoretical framework. So our experience has been that children go through these activities very, very comfortably. They don't realize that they are learning. They are playing around with toys, they're playing around with leaves, they're jumping around, but there is a plan to every moment they spend at the school. It is all very closely planned lesson plans. And as Mr. Sreekumar just said, the biggest problem for us is training of the teachers and continuously equipping them. It's not enough to just have a, let us say, a 5-day training program at the beginning of the year. They need to be helped all the way through. Their lesson plans need to be very closely monitored, and even the implementation in at the classroom level needs to be very closely observed. We have been fortunate that we have a kind of informal tie-up with an agency. It's like it's called the Institute Perguran of Malaysia, and 2 senior professors from there they do keep coming to our school, and just 3 months ago we even had a hybrid training program. It is necessary that lesson plans are very clearly worked out and properly implemented. Otherwise, this becomes, there are 2 extremes. One is you try to overload the child with things beyond his ability at that particular point in time. The other thing is where you go into play. It has to be a healthy balance of these things, because
hello everybody.
I don't have much more to talk about. All I'm saying is that there are one is, like you said, teachers need to be trained, and not only trained, they need to be helped. They need to be helped in designing proper learning experiences for children. They need to be helped by, it is quite unfair to just let them loose with children and without telling them what exactly they should do. There has to be a clearly spelled out curriculum, and it has to be very rigorously implemented. Of course, there are other aspects. I think another important thing is for teachers to have the right kind of temperament to deal with very young children. Children coming into LKG 1, just 3 years old. I mean, they're just beginning to pick up essential socializing skills. The first time they're meeting new friends, they're learning to take turns. So you need a very, very considerate teacher to get them to feel at home, but of course, gently introduce them to, things more than just playtime. And it is very, very important also, I think, and that's the final point I would like to make. The point is that we need to equip our parents to find out what really is needed for the children. They should be, see, if we have such an eminent person like Dr. Venita Kaul is one of the world's best known experts on early childhood schooling. But unfortunately, we have not made proper use of her expertise here. I remember in the 2005 National Curriculum Framework document, also Mrs. Kaul had contributed substantially to the ECC part of the document. But again, the NCERT had developed the curriculum for the classes 1 to 10, and the ECC part was left to, I think, the Ministry of Education, Ministry of Women and Children. But of course, these things remain only on paper. I don't know to what extent these are being actually implemented here. You see hundreds and hundreds of, play schools, kindergartens of all shapes going all over around the countryside, but very few of them are actually doing a proper early childhood care program.
I think NCF will make a change in that direction, hopefully.
Hopefully,
yes.
Mr. Sreekumar. See, we were also very hopeful when the 2005 document came out. See, the 2005 National Curriculum Framework document spoke about, social constructivism as the basic, theory.
So shall we discuss after Hillary's? I think we'll.
Yeah, but it was never implemented. I don't think it was implemented in any single school in the country.
Yes, yes.
So see, these documents remain as such, and I think it's for people like you to really start educating the, the public and getting the awareness through. Anyway, I'm sorry I took more time than I was allowed.
No, yes.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah.
So thanks, Suresh Kumar, for your sharing your views. And now we'll go to Hilary Hinchliffe. She's the principal of GEMS Modern Academy, and she's got a rich experience in teaching in UK and India, and I think in UAE also. So I would like to know from you, what are the contemporary modern global best practices that India can follow, and maybe what GEMS is also now following, which everybody can gain from that kind of an experience. So over to Hilary Hinchliffe.
Yeah, I have actually got a presentation that I will try and share. Where is it? It is this one. Can everybody see that? Are you able to see?
Yes, continue.
Yes, the bar. I have to just move that bar, slideshow, and from the beginning. Right. So I thought I'd bring a little presentation that we show to new teachers when they join us. So I've taken some slides out because they weren't relevant, but I thought I'd just run through what we actually do share with new teachers as they come to us. And it pretty much is just going over what everybody's already said. I don't think I'm going to be adding anything different, but hopefully I will add to the weight of the wonderful things that I've heard this evening. So we are an IB school up to grade 5, so an IB PYP school, and we have chosen for our kindergarten to be pre-KG up to grade 1, so 3 to 7-year-olds. Just put that in just to show you what the programme is all about, but I'm sure most of you will know about IB. Our philosophy at school is to create the right climate and environment to develop thinkers, not just knowers. And one of the most important things for KG, to make those memorable moments that are going to stay with the children forever. So one of the things that's already been covered, engagement is absolutely vital, and it's probably more important than anything else in kindergarten. And a few of our speakers have already said that they went into their kindergartens, they would see children looking down, not looking up, and that those children would be engaged. So it's one of the things that we do a lot of training on our teachers, is to look for those levels of engagement. And when we're doing lesson observations, that's one of the key things that we look for as we go in and we observe the teachers and the students and the children and what they're doing. Is that engagement at a very high level? Because in kindergarten, it almost doesn't matter what the children are doing, as long as they are engaged, because it's that engagement that helps to build the brain cells and to help to develop those healthy brains. And you can see here, I've put in some photographs, both of my current school and my previous school in Oman. So you will see sort of a mixture of photographs here. So we talk to our teachers about that brain development, because I think it's really important for the teachers to know if they're going to take a different pedagogical approach, why are they doing it? It's not good enough to just tell them they've got to make the changes, explain to them why. So we show some slides about how those synapses develop between those different ages, as you can see. We also talk about the research that has been done across the world on children, and very, very sadly, on children here that were in a Romanian orphanage. And we do show the shocking photographs of the difference between a typical 3-year-old who has been well developed and has been stimulated from an early age and has received all of those basic needs that we learn about from Maslow, and children who haven't. And the difference in the development of the brain, because I think the more the teachers understand early childhood development, and you don't have to get into the major science of it, just enough for them to understand about those levels of engagement. So we do go through this and show them. We then go on, and I've shared this with parents as well, and our last speaker talked about bringing the parents with us. It's so important that the parents understand what we're doing and why, particularly if you are in an environment that you're going to make these big changes, because it will be very different from the parents' individual experiences of their schooling. So one of the things we tell everybody is it's going to get messy. It is going to get messy, because if children are going to be creative, it will get messy. So we have a very loose policy on our uniform in KG, and we've changed it. Previous to COVID, it was white. Why anybody chose a white uniform for KG, I've got no clue. So we've now gone for dark blue, which doesn't show the dirt up quite so much. Oh, good. So that's just a little bit about our learner profile. That's from IB. And as well as having all those things for the teachers to know, these are the things we want to develop, we teach them explicitly to the children as well. And if I have time at the end, I've got a short video of this in action this week for Children's Day, but I'll come back to that. So what do our teachers and our TAs do? They look for teachable moments. We too do a lot of hands-on, and we do a lot of field trips. So we take the children to real environments, and the teachers are looking all the time at where are those teachable moments? Where can I take the learning on to the next stage? They're listening, they're observing all of the time what the children are saying, what the children are doing. We also do a lot of, a big emphasis on emotional health and well-being. Again, that's already been said today. We all know about stress. We all know that if children are in a good emotional state, their brains will be much, much more open to learning. So we do a lot on emotional health and well-being. You can see we do yoga. We do a lot of activities that we ensure that the children are in a very, very healthy state. So the characteristics of play-based learning, when we're talking to our new teachers, playing and exploring. So children investigate the experience, they have a go. Active learning. Children concentrate on keeping on trying if they encounter difficulties, and they enjoy their achievement. And we talk a lot about the fact that actually failure is great. We love a bit of failure, because through failure, children learn then to manage that for themselves. They learn to be resilient, they learn to try again. And actually, you can learn an awful lot from doing things wrong. You can learn more from doing things wrong than by getting things right in the first place. So we have to talk to our teachers a lot about letting children fail. Don't jump in too quickly and give them the answers or tell them what to do. Let them fail, because then they can take the steps back to try again. That's how they really learn. And creating and thinking critically. So children have and develop their own ideas, making links between ideas and developing strategies for doing things. And as I said, we teach that explicitly, and we use some very big words. Even with our pre-KG 3-year-olds, we're using words like metacognition. It's just a word. It's not a big word, it's just a word. So we spend a lot of time on our environment. We spend more time on our environment and getting our environment right than planning lessons, because the environment becomes, in our case, the third teacher, because we have a teacher, a teaching assistant, and we have the environment. And we work very hard at making sure our environment enables the children to move on in their learning. Meaningful contexts. So we know that children are learning about the world all the time, and giving them those meaningful contexts to learn in. So if we go on a field trip, here we see we've gone to see the fire. When we the fire station, when they come back, we'll have a fire station as a role play. So the children can then role play what they have experienced. And then that keeps the learning alive, and it takes it further and further. So making the context of their learning as meaningful to everyday life as possible. Writing, and I know that's quite a big thing in India, and how children start writing, but we choose the emergent writing method. So the children start with mark making. We make it as comfortable and as easy and as stress-free for them to do the writing as possible. We have writing material everywhere. Little boards, clipboards with writing material in every single area of the classroom, because the teachers all the time are saying to the children, what have you been doing? I wonder what you've learned. I wonder what you have been, what you're doing here. Would you like to write about it? And we do what we call shared writing, where the teacher starts by writing what the child says. As we know that they are learning their letters, their letter formation, we pass the pen backwards and forwards, so that the teacher writes a bit, the child writes a bit, until they get to the point where they're really comfortable writing for themselves, and they often write for each other as well. So we call it story scribing. Any writing that is done, even at the mark making stage, is put in a box, and at the end of the session, we have a reflection time where the children can share their writing at whatever level that is, and they act it out. Because writing, again, has to have a purpose for the children to be really, really engaged in it. We never tell them what to write about. We always encourage them to write about the things they're passionate about. So again, it makes it really interesting for them, and they want to do it. So there's some more examples of the writing, and that's the type of writing you will see everywhere from pre-KG up to grade 1. And, you know, our teachers initially say, well, you know, how will they learn to write properly? How will they learn to spell? But with all of the other things that you're doing with them and the opportunities that they've got, the writing just comes naturally. And by the time they leave KG2 and go into grade 1, and partway through grade 1, almost all of our children are writing independently and at length. They love writing, they're not put off it. And again, anybody who knows anything about child development, writing is a developmental stage, and you cannot force children to do that before they're ready, otherwise you're going to put them off for life. And we spend a lot of time trying to re-engage children later on in life to write, when actually if we hadn't put them off in the first place, we wouldn't have to try and re-engage them. So we do lots and lots of ways of trying to get the children engaged in writing. We really make the most of it, and they get a lot of praise for whatever their effort is. We never ever tell them that they're wrong. It is always celebrated, the bit that they've done. So what do the teachers and the TAs do? They notice opportunities when writing will enhance the play. As I said, we will start and scribe for them, but as we know their phonetic ability, we do pass the pen backwards and forwards to them. So maths in the early years, as again, play-based, lots and lots of activities that you can do with maths. We have water play available throughout the whole of the KG, inside and out. We have mud kitchens, we do lots of baking, we've got measuring and weighing, we have that going on all the time. And just to explain, we have what we call planning and teaching in the moment and the free flow method. So we have one room that's for pre-KG, everything goes on in that one room. We have a huge room for KG1, everything goes on in that room. We have 4 classes of 20 children in KG1 in one big room, and we set it out into corners and the children free flow in between all of the areas and to the outside. They have free access. The teachers are stationed so that we can make sure that they're there to help bring those children on with their learning. They're looking for those teachable moments, but the children get to choose whether they're learning inside or out. So it's fluid all the way through the day. The only time that they come together and the children are told what to do is when we have very small phonics groups, and then we have the reflection at the end of the day, so that the children come together in their smaller groups and they can share their learning with their peers, and they do that story scribing and telling of the stories. So free flow all the time, because what we're looking for is maximum engagement. We also look for building up independent skills. So even from the moment they come in, they self-register. So we have different things in different classrooms, but in pre-KG, they go and find their little photograph. They move it from one side of the door to the other to show that they've come in. We do rolling snacks, so the children eat when they are hungry, not when an adult tells them. So lots and lots of ways that we develop their independent skills. We have a real push on product. I can't remember what I said. So not the product, but the way of process. Sorry, I've got the word. Process, not product. So I know we go into KG classrooms, so we see beautiful things like this, where the adult has given the top bit, the adult has given the eyes, the adult has given the strings, the children are then told how to put it together. And it looks beautiful, it looks very, very pretty, but what actually have the children learned, other than they're not capable of their own art? That's what that is telling them. So instead, you will see things like this: a box of chocolates, lots of buttons, finger painting, messy art, children really creating, not just following. There's another few examples of that. So product card, these are the questions that the children will ask. Have I finished now? Is this right? I can't do it. Whereas process art is, look, it's changing colour. I put glitter here, it's icing. It's a dinosaur pot, can I take it home? And that's what we want. We want children really proud of their creations. And this is what we ask parents to say, you know, using the language to try and bring on that learning. Okay. I won't talk about this, but this is the way we report to parents. So I'll just have a quick flick through that, but I won't talk about it because I know I'm running out of time. And this is, again, what we're aiming for, the teachers to be the gardener. The gardener does not make the plant grow. The job of the gardener is to create optimal conditions for that growth. So I don't know if I've got time to show a little 2-minute video. Have I had...
I think we'll do that after.
Okay, I'll put the link in the chat.
Okay.
Okay.
Great.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Hilary. Actually, your last quote from Ken Robinson is very relevant, that the job of the gardener is to nurture the plant, not to make it grow. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
And I just want to add that it's been a really quick run through. We're very passionate about what we do, and if anybody wants to come and visit us, we're always very, very welcome to welcome visitors. And I would love to come and see the Rajagiri one for sure, if that's okay.
Thank you, Hilary. So I was just, after listening to all of you, I was wondering about the kind of kindergarten education that I had back in Trivandrum. So I think it was just learning A, B, C, D, and also the numbers and keeping engaged. Now I find that it is a golden opportunity to be a kid now, because so many new methods of teaching and the way the children are enjoying the whole process. But I don't know whether it is a universal thing or it's only in pockets of early learning. So it looks very interesting. And the most important thing I think now is that there is always talk of school readiness. When after this foundational learning, can we make the children school ready? So the numerous studies have shown that our children are not becoming school ready. That is, the foundational literacy and the numeracy skills are lacking in children. So with these playaway methods or all these storytelling methods and all these other methods that we follow, will we be able to achieve this goal of this numeracy and achieving this foundational literacy so that they can take up the higher challenges of learning, independent learning forward as they go into the senior classes? Who would like to take up this? Would you like to? NCF says that this foundational literacy and numeracy has to be attained by the age of 6. So will this kind of learning help the children attain that goal?
It's a very tricky question. The thing is that it's very important that I think that children are allowed to make the progress in the way they can, and that we don't make a cookie cutter type of education where all children make the same progress in the same length of time. But can children all learn to read and write and numbers before the age of 6? I think, yes, it's possible. We've seen it. But just as Hilary has said and others have said, I think that it's very important that the children are, progress in the way that they need to progress without being forced. The minute you have force and the minute you have outcomes and testing as a prerequisite, I think that that is a very difficult process, and that you want all the children to achieve the same thing by the same age. And I think that's not something that will help any of the earlier.
I just want to clarify that school readiness competencies are not literacy and numeracy the way it has been mentioned in the foundational years in the national curriculum framework. The school readiness competencies are more cognitive, socio-emotional, what is actually developed through play-based pedagogy. That provides the foundation later, on the basis of which, as Hilary showed very well, children, on the basis of their emergent learning experiences, pick up literacy skills. So the literacy skills come up very naturally rather than being taught through a rigorous teacher-centered method. So I think that we should clarify very clearly to everybody that school readiness does not mean learn reading and writing. It means preparing children for reading and writing.
May I come in? I'm Preeti
Yes.
Puri from Bluebells School, and I don't think it's appropriate for me to speak after our guru, Dr. Venita Kaul, but I would still like to say that readiness is not about knowing your alphabets, as she said. Children, there's a lot more, and what is more important is the children to be happy to come to schools. They should want to come to school. So their social skills, their learning interaction with peers, many children are coming from homes where they're the only child. They don't even know how to share things. These are all very, very important aspects of learning. The children who come from homes where the native language is not English, or they don't speak English, they're bilingual. We need to help them to develop a vocabulary. Otherwise, even writing a word like cat or, elephant is just drawing for them. It's just like asking them to do a drawing in 2 lines. So it's extremely important that children have a receptive language first. They have an expressive language, be it their mother tongue or be it English, if we are as a school very fussed up about it. But we have learned from Dr. Venita Kaul also, and it wasn't easy for us. Pratibha, who's just given you spoken about this. I remember when we were first introducing, she had so many apprehensions. But once she saw it work, she's taken like duck to water in implementing it.
Preeti, actually, the kindergarten should be a place where you nurture the talent and also the flowering, the expression of the child. I think in the NCF document, there is an observation, a sample checklist for observation. I think it can be shared here, where the teacher has to observe in each. Yes. So here, actually, this chart shows that the teacher has to observe the child. And we always say that each child is unique. So which means that we cannot give a one-size-fits-all approach to teaching in any stage of learning. So here, the teacher has to observe the child and then report the observations in this chart. So this is one thing which they have put in the this NCF, and I think it was shared by some teachers. And this is about listening and speaking skills. So like this, each child should have different skills which are noted by the teacher, so that at the end of the term or at the end of the year, we have a good idea about what the child is good at and what is lacking in the child. I think there's another slide related to that, observation record. So here it is actually a group activity that is given to 3 or 4 children, and the teacher found some problem with the children. And so here the teacher has observed what was the problem with that particular child called Karthik. And then they found out what was the problem, and then they discussed it with the parents to solve the issue. So I think these are very important points which have emerged in the NCF, and I don't know whether this is right now it is being implemented in schools, whether there is an observation of each child for different skills and what is lacking in them, so that parents and teachers can find a solution to that. Would anybody like to comment on this? Bindu Thomas, would you like to?
Actually, I don't know about the others, but in Rajagiri, we have, all the teachers maintain something called an observation record. So in that, we are kind of daily monitoring. It's not very obviously done, in the sense, it's not that we're sitting with this book in front of the child, but as the children are working, we are observing them on a daily basis. So it may not look exactly like this, but yes, we do observe them on a daily basis. And actually speaking, in kindergarten, that is the way which we have to move ahead. It's in a higher class, you can have just a summative assessment maybe. But in EC, in the early childhood stage, we have to maintain a daily record, because these children are evolving on a daily basis. Like Hilary ma'am said, they learn a lot through their failures. So today, maybe a child cannot do something, but the same may not be the case even within, say, 5 or even an hour after that. So daily observation is part of the kindergarten teacher's duty. It is part of the work. It's done. It's just a done thing. In a higher class, you can go in for a summative assessment, but that is not possible in a KG state. At least that's what we believe in Rajagiri. I'm sure most of the kindergarten teachers here will be following the same thing.
Are you okay if I jump in and say something quickly there? So I totally agree with that. And I think it is a daily basis. But we have to make it manageable for the teachers, because if they think that they're having to assess the children all the time, they're going to focus on that rather than looking for those teachable moments. So what we have done to make it manageable is that we have focused children. So for each class of about 20 children, we have 3 children per week that all of the staff are really focusing on them, and they take much more detailed records of them. And at the end of the week, in my presentation, you'll have seen the sheets that I glossed over. At the end of the week, that's presented to the parents, and we have a one-to-one. So they see 3 lots of parents every week, 3 lots of children having that really in-depth focus on their observations, and that works really, really well and makes it very manageable. But we have a similar sort of tracking system as you showed at the start, and that's updated fairly regularly, but we've got to make it manageable for the teachers, because there's no two ways about it. Being a KG teacher, if you're going to do it well, it's really hard work. It's exhausting, it is. And I still maintain, and I'm so glad that you started off with it, it is the most important job in the world. And the other thing I really do think we need to campaign for is proper working conditions and pay and conditions for KG teachers.
Thank you, Hilary. And actually, I want to share another one. It's called the Holistic Progress Card. And that is also there in the NCF document. So it is a self-assessment form. Actually, we don't involve the students normally, the children, in the whole process of assessment or feedback. So here there is a holistic progress card where the child shows whether he was interested in doing something. So there are some smileys. So it's easy for the child to fill this up and tell the teacher and others, whether I was interested in this, or whether I was not interested in this. What was my feedback? So here the name is there. I don't know whether this is implemented, whether we actually take the feedback from the children, or whether we are imposing everything from above. So I think that is another thing very innovative I found in NCF. I would like to get your views on that. Anybody? Apeksha?
This is all very good, so long as it doesn't stay on paper.
I personally feel it is very difficult for the child to even express what they like and what they don't, because at the moment, they're very present at the moment. For example, when they're doing an activity, at that moment, if you ask them, maybe they will tell you whether they like it or not. But later, maybe after a week or something, if you're giving them a feedback form to ask them, did you like this or you did not, they are not aware. They only live in the present. So I don't think it is even actually possible to get any feedback from the child. It has to be the teacher's observation, on daily basis, like the others said. After the children have gone, we just sit with the book and we just make note of points which we felt we could note in a particular child. We may not have points for all the children every day. There are some children who will show something very special on a particular day, which we can just make a quick note of. And at the end of the year, then putting all those points together, we just get a general view about how the child has been progressing right from the beginning. But getting a feedback from the children, I think, is a very difficult thing.
Okay. So I'll quickly go to Dr. Varghese Pandalukkaran. Actually, he has created a new pedagogy called a new book, written a new book on called Entrepreneurial Intellection, and where he speaks about developing this kind of independent thinking and okay. Is the professor at Rajagiri School of Engineering and Technology, and also director of the Rajagiri Media. So over to Dr. Varghese.
Thank you, Sreekumar. I have only taught higher education now. I understand that the foundations are being laid very much early in the lives of children. We are also concerned about the foundations, because it's on these foundations we are supposed to build up the life of the children. So the basic question I always had in my mind, what kind of foundation for what we lay foundation? That's an important question I wanted to ask. What do you expect a child to become, or to which type of era or which type of life context you are preparing them for? Or what should be the purpose of the education altogether, And I was just listening to all of you, and I was really marveled by the different methods you are implementing to build this foundation. Now, I take a cue from what is given in our NEP 2020, National Education Policy 2020, it clearly states, and I was fascinated by that statement, it is not what of learning which is important, rather the how of learning. So we are not, I think Hillary put it very well. We are not developing thinkers and not knowers, which means, we don't want to fill the minds of children with a lot of information, a lot of ideas, a lot of concepts which we already know, or we want them to know, but rather we ask them to develop the thinking skills. That's an absolutely important thing. We are developing thinkers, not knowers. I think that's a good summary of what I also wanted to tell. That summary of National Education Policy 2020. Also, we don't teach them what to learn, rather how to learn, to how to think in a modern way. That's a very important thing. At higher education, we want students coming prepared, not just school prepared. We look at for the higher education preparedness also, because for everything the foundation is the only one foundation. The children are getting only one foundation, the early child care and education stage. So that's absolutely important. And what we want in this for higher education is that they develop totally independent, autonomous, lifelong, venturesome, and flexible learning styles, which we together can call an entrepreneurial thinking style. And I especially like what Hillary was presenting again, learning from failures, and jumping to some kind of unknown thing, taking thing out of the box, all this kind of creative thinking and entrepreneurial intellection. That's absolutely important at a higher education, because they are going to enter into a world. The children are preparing themselves for a world which is called an era. They are going to live in an era of acceleration, where they will have to change their skill set and mindset so flexibly, so fast, because otherwise they will not survive in this modern time. We call it also an era of information, which means there's a lot of information. So information need not be filled into the minds of the children. Education is not filling minds of children with a lot of information. Rather, education is rather to make them mindful, not filling their minds with a lot of information, rather making them mindful, so that they grow autonomously, grow lifelong learners, grow as venturesome learners, and grow as flexible learners, which will ensure their future in higher education and the life and career spaces of modern day. So therefore, I think entrepreneurial intellection is absolutely important. It has to be laid, the foundation should be laid right in the foundation stage. That's why it's called foundation stage, So the foundation for what is expected of the higher education should be laid already in the this particular stage. So I'm a bit concerned because of this. Even now I imagine a lot of discussions was on how to teach the child a concept. That's not that important. Rather, teach the child how to think as a thinker, not as a knower. Because knowing is not going to be that important as thinking in modern times, because we are living in abundance of information. They will anyway know, but they will not think. That's a concern for us in higher education. So since the foundations are made in the foundational stage itself, we want that this particular foundation is already done. So entrepreneurial intellection is absolutely important. That's how the new generation learners should be taught. And I wish and like to see that foundation for this kind of learning and higher education is already laid at the lower level, at the foundation level. And that's simply what is stated in National Education Policy 2020. Teach them how to think, not how to mug up a lot of information, a lot of ideas. That's all. That's all what I have to share in this Western community. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Verghese. Actually, your point is well taken, that thinking styles have to be different. Thinking styles have to be developed. So we'll now just show a short video before we go into the discussion.
What are you drawing? Have you seen a real rainbow? Rainbow can be seen only when it rains. Oh, rainbow is produced only a rainy day?
A rainbow can be seen clearly after a rain because water droplets cause dispersion of white light into its 7 colors.
So is with human mind. It can think in different styles, in a rainbow of colors. Modern day students shall succeed in their life and career if they learn to think differently. Entrepreneurial Intellection, Shades of Black and White, a comprehensive guide to modern day intellectual formation.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Verghese, for the look, Aaron. And actually, I was when it comes to early learning, I am amazed by the story of this Toto-chan, this book, which talks about Japanese school, which was there in during the Second World War, and which was destroyed due to bombing by the America. And they tried to revive this school, but it was it was not possible. And there is nothing preventing us from developing this kind of what do you call a school where children joyfully go there. And ultimately, I think the question is whether when the child wakes up in the morning, it's interested in going to the school and then staying there and not interested in getting back. I think that is the message that this Toto-chan book tells. And I was reading it again and again. And also it tells that we have not been able to, even in Japan, it was an unconventional school and they had only 50 children. And there were a lot of conventional schools. And this author, Tetsuko Kuroyanagi, she was the dropout. Actually, she was sent away from conventional school and she joined this school. And she later on became a leading television personality and she wrote this bestseller, which has sold almost 45 million copies to date. So what is preventing us from being innovative? Who would like to, because all these years, all these 50 or 70 years, more than 70 years, we have not been able to bring a curriculum for early learning. That's the foundation for the development of the, as rightly pointed out in NCF, the economic growth will to a large extent be dependent on the early learning that we are going to give to our children. Who would like to take this?
I can try. I think that innovation is something that, it's something that requires some courage. And I think that in terms of the parents, the teachers, the schools, the fears that surround the fears that parents hold, it translates into very practical and very conventional approaches to what they have experienced as children in school, and therefore what they see as what success will be, with shape, with size, is something that is measured from there. So it is not just in early childhood. I think across the board, we have been, this has been an area where we have never focused on the child, but always on a curriculum. And I think that as long as that continues, it's always going to be, when you're looking at outcome rather than the child's development, then we're always going to look at difficulty in this area of creating innovation, because there's so much fear. There's fear that we will let the children down. So the fear, the love for the children, in fact, holds us back from being experimenting, being a little flexible, being a little. So I think it's always the love itself, the love of the parents, the love of the responsibilities that teachers feel itself sometimes become obstacles to creating the correct environment, the kind of holistic environment in which children can flower in. We are afraid to swim against the current.
But
I think school leaders are also key, because I think a lot of the teachers, there's a lot of fear, and I think fear is a really, really big blocker. And unless school leaders are going to take away the blame culture and the fear, the teachers won't do it. So I think it is up to us school leaders to say to our teachers, try it, give it a go. There will be no blame, you will not be in trouble, and to support with the parents as well. And I think all of us have said, getting parents on board is absolutely key. And the more that you can invite them in, the more that they can feel part of it, and that you can give them almost a fly on the wall view of what the children are doing. So we do gallery walks where we invite the parents in. The children take the parents around and they show them what they do on a daily basis, not the teacher, the children. The more the parents can see, and grandparents also, because that's quite key here, I think, and just take that fear and the blame away.
Actually, now we are actually trying to learn a lot from now other countries, this Finland, Norway, and all these countries. So why can't we develop our own very innovative system, Indian system, so that others learn from us? What is what do you call the obstacle in that regard? That's what I am always wondering. Okay, Apeksha, would you like to?
So I feel it is again the very high influence of the Western world. You know, it's very modern in today's world. I'm talking when I'm sitting in Mumbai in the western suburbs. We are very modern people, and we believe in the Western countries, and we think adapting into the Western world is being modern. And so, you know, anything that India brings, we first judge a lot of that, but anything that comes from the European countries or from the Western world is very welcome. So first of all, we have to break that block, you know, that we Indians or our Vedic maths or, you know, everything that India has been doing is actually, I personally believe in Steiner education, but when I look at Steiner, it looks as if he's talking about the Indian mythology. He's talking everything that our Vedic system is bringing to us. His maths that he gives to us comes from our Vedic maths. It is so similar. So when I'm trying to look at his curriculum, it although comes to us from the Western world, but it is as if it is my Indian culture, which I'm learning only from the European world. So that is where India is. We are still lame to the fair, you know, the white people. We believe that only what they do is modern. So we have to break that blocks, you know, and as I'm working in the school for the last 22 years, we are not into advertising our education system at all. We just wait for the parents to come and say, we want something different in the education system. We do not want the conventional system because we do not believe in competition. Waldorf education is saying that do not compete with your neighbor's child, compete with yourself. Now, when you want to do that is where then I jump, you know, step into the world and say, okay, if you actually care to compete with your own skills or you want to improve your own skills, then maybe we can help you. But that is very difficult for the parents, very difficult because the conventional system is so overwhelming and it's so widespread that there is competition in everything. So we, as parents, we'll have to first prepare ourselves. And I have got into Waldorf education 22 years back when my child was 3 and 5 years old. So I can say that now because it was as a parent, I stepped into the system and then brought it forward. So I feel only as parents, we should be broad-minded about the system that we want to bring in.
I think Pratibha has something to
maybe I have something to say in this to add to this. You know, I think it is time for us to think beyond borders. You know, we are more and more aware of that we are one planet and children born to this planet Earth. Because, you know, there's no second planet. We artificially divide into West and East, you know, North and West. You know, these are all artificial. The thing is that, you know, as Apeksha has already mentioned, you know, these are all universal knowledge. You know, the brain, of course, the brain development stories, you know, or the science which we get from West. That's absolutely. They have done a lot of research and they brought this idea how the brain develops, and of course we should take care of that brain development because that's a scientific fact. But otherwise, I think we are taking have to consider as a globe and different cross-cultural mixing, and we should be there, and that should be encouraged, and that we are living in a world just only one. We are aggressively believing that we are living only one world, we have one planet, and we have to protect that planet. And so are the ideas also. Our every idea which is born into this planet are to be protected, and they are to be cherished. East learning from West, West learning from East, or other way around, North. And these are not the question which we should raise anymore. It is old-fashioned question, I imagine, in the modern world.
Okay, Pratibha, would you like to?
Yeah, so thank you so much for this opportunity. And I am a practicing teacher. I am working with 3 years old in the class. So what I personally feel is the obstacle as to what your question was. The first thing is that we were always thinking of developing the university curriculums. It's now the time that we are thinking of early childhood education as well. That's point number one. Point number two is there are teachers who need to change their mindset, and I am one of them. So I have been working for the last 25 years with the preschoolers, and it took me almost 2 years to convince myself that I have to get into the new system, right? So it took me 2 years to train myself, and all thanks to Ma'am Venita. I had lots of questions to ask. Why not alphabets? Why not numbers? So this change when it comes to teachers is very important. That's number two. Number three, taking from what Apeksha ji said, coming back to our roots, the traditional ways, our traditional games. Now think of that game of using fingers and thread. That is an absolute excellent example of solitary play and creativity. So we all have played that game with thread and our fingers, right? So creative aspect comes in, solitary play comes in. You pick up any traditional game and it has all the skills coordinated well in place. So why can't we come back to that? And if we teach children that, and believe me, this was with the 3 years old. Last week, I did those pebbles with the children. We used to play those 5 pebble and the 3 pebble game. And they all were interested and they asked me, please give me pebbles, ma'am. We want to go back home and play. Definitely the mobile is going to go off their hands once we put them into the traditional games. So that is my practical experience with the real classroom environment. Thank you so much. I think there is where the obstacle is, and innovation is a process. The foundation has to be strong.
I have one point to add to what Dr. Varghese said. We have one world. Yeah. The other day I was driving down from Munnar and I saw children in school uniform, and grown-up children in school uniform planting rice with their bare hands, standing in the water, doing that. We really have to involve children into projects, into now, why do these things happen? Why is poverty there? Why is climate change happening? What can we do to, solve these issues? You start get them thinking, because like I always say, we have a tipping point about the climate change. 2030 is probably the last we would go. And I'm so worried to come across graduate students. I would bet it's about more than half who have not heard of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, 2030 goals, which were formulated in 2015, and college graduates do not know. Because you're talking about early learning here, but it goes all the way down. If you have to start from very early stages, about how plants grow and how these things, if it is not there, what happens, all that has to be incorporated, because we really are pushing the limits, and you can do any amount of progress, anything, but if the environment is going to collapse around you, we're in big trouble. So we have to get them involved in projects, and we need 1 million Greta Thunbergs from tomorrow, not down the line. NEP 2035, it will come out with superhuman beings. Now, I don't see it going that far. Thank you.
So I think we have come to almost the close of the this 2-hour discussion. Actually, so many new insights were thrown up, and each of you have shared your best practices. But the core thing is that we are still lacking in innovation. That is, some blocks are still there to be overcome. And I'm sure that the parent community and also the policymakers have already taken the lead in that direction. But it will take a long time before this NCF can become reality in terms of the entire ecosystem changing. Like you have to have the teaching materials, you have to have trained teachers for this. So that I think it will be a long journey again, but still that beginning has been done, and we are fortunate to have people like all of you here today. You have all very innovative ideas, and I think that you should contribute to the NCF, and NCF is still open. They have not closed the dialogue, and they are willing to listen to more people before they finalize on the other matters that are to be implemented. So I think we are still open to that, and we would like to learn more from you, as Hilary has already said that she's opening her school to all the visitors who are interested in learning. I think every school should do that, and instead of keeping theirs as a exclusive IP or something, I think more sharing should happen so that we evolve, all of us jointly grow, and we create a very unique Indian system that will, just as we talk about Finland and Norway or some other countries, people will be proud to say that, okay, India has got a system which we can follow, and maybe they will come to us and to learn what we are doing. I think that has to happen. I think, Hilary, do you want to add something?
I've just got a question. Will the NCEF come and visit schools? Like, would they come and visit and see? Because with kindergarten and early years education, more than anything, you've got to see it to understand it, rather than just get people to write in. So could we get them to come and visit some of our
that's a very good suggestion. I don't know whether that has been done, but they have consulted around 2,000 or more people in this area, and they have also done a lot of research in the neuroscience to develop this. But I don't know whether they have actually visited, but they have got so many inputs from the teachers. That is what I showed, some of the 2 or 3 charts which I showed. They were all inputs given by the teachers. So I think they have consulted the teachers, but I don't know whether they have visited the innovative schools. That is a good idea. Yeah.
They need to see.
Yes, yes. That seems to be a good idea. Actually, they can learn a lot from the innovative practices followed. I think that is a suggestion we can give to the NCF. We have been in touch with them, and they couldn't join for this today's program, but we are in touch with them. So thanks all of you for giving your inputs, and let's hope that we'll have more innovative early learning schools in the country, and we'll have children who are have a joyful learning, who have an immersive and happy learning, happiness in their learning process. So thanks once again to all the panelists and participants. So till we meet again, it's bye from Rajagiri Round Table.
So Madam Hilary, I'll be there to come and see the school.
Great.
Absolutely, please do. We would love to see you. We do like having people to come visit.
Sure.
Ma'am, Rajagiri will also be would like to visit you.
Okay.
Definitely.
Even we at Inodai Waldorf School are more than happy to have people to come and meet us and see how we work.
Okay.
The other thing I'd be interested in is we find it really difficult to buy good quality resources. And I know a couple of the speakers were talking about the natural resources. We're really struggling. So I don't know if there's any way that we could have like a sharing group as to where we can actually find some really good quality resources for early years.
Bindu Thomas, would you like to comment on that?
Ma'am, there are organizations in Kochi which make these resources. Some of them are special schools. So maybe I'll give these resources to Mr. Sreekumar. Maybe from him you can collect the list.
If you could send it in the WhatsApp, that would be brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we are really struggling. We can only find bright coloured plastic, and we want to avoid that.
You want the wooden handmade kind of, yeah. There are institutes which make that. It's a bit, the thing is the plastic ones are more cheaper.
Yes,
so,
but they don't last as long. They don't last as long, so happy to spend.
And it's abundantly available, whereas the wooden ones are a little more expensive.
Yeah. But they do last longer, and it's well worth getting it. We've made quite a lot of our own, but yeah, we'd like to buy some more.
I'll let Mr. Sreekumar know. Maybe he can pass it on to you.
Great.
That'd be brilliant.
Yes.
Thank you.
So once again, I thank all the panelists, and actually we need to take this discussion forward, and there should be more collaboration taking place between the different schools of early learning. And I think we will be able to build a very good, solid Indian early learning methodology, which will become a pride for the nation. So with this hope, I end the 88th Rajagiri Round Table, and once again, I thank you all.